Okay, welcome back. We're going to fix a few things here in the game model. One method that we forgot to provide is the reset turn number method. Where we want to put that is here in the game model, and I think a good place to do it would be right here near next turn. We're going to say this: public void reset turn. That seems like a good name. And all we're going to do is reset it to the same value it started out with in the constructor. It starts out as 1. If you look up in the constructor for the game model, you see that it starts out at 1. So we just want to make it look like it was created for the first time. The two most difficult scoring categories in Yahtzee are the large straight and the small straight. The small straight is actually harder to implement than the large straight. So we're going to do the large straight first, and then we'll move on to the small straight. Is full house. So we're going to need to write one of these for is small straight and is large straight. We'll use the same kind of structure. Let's try it for this one. So I'm just going to copy the guts of is full house, and we'll use that as our model for is small straight. Again, this is so the computer can determine whether they have a small straight or not. Okay, so let's create the actual method header. Public void, or actually Boolean. This is the predicate function. So public Boolean is small straight, like that, and we'll pass in my dice. I think that's the pattern we used on the other ones. Yeah, we pass in the dice. Yeah, let's do large straight first, because that's actually easier to implement. So in a large straight, if you look at it carefully, if you build a frequency table, you'll notice that every large straight has the same values in it. There's a 2, there's a 3, there's a 4, and there's a 5. You know those will always be in a small straight because the lists are for small straight 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the slots in the frequency table that match up with both of them are 2, 3, 4, 5. Those have to be there if this is going to be a small straight or a large straight. So if we just check for those, we'll know right away that it's a large straight. So first we have to build the frequency table. Here we're going to get rid of these two booleans because we're not doing full house anymore. But we do need to build the frequency table, so we do that. It returns us the frequency table. And then we loop through the dice. I guess we're not looping through the dice, we're looping through the frequency table. And we're trying to see if there's a 1 in the slots for 2, 3, 4, and 5. After you know there's a 2, a 3, a 4, and a 5 in the set of dice, do you really need to check to see if there's a 1 or a 6? And surprisingly, the answer is no. Because a 1, well, that makes it a straight, and obviously if it was a 1, then the 6 is 0. Or maybe the 6 is 1 and the 1 is 0, but there's no other way for this to come out. So asking for whether it's a 1 or whether it's a 6 is redundant. You already know the answer to that question. The one thing I don't like about people who code sometimes is they ask questions they already know the answer to. And so we're not going to do that here. So we can simplify this a lot. So I'm just going to delete all of this, and we can finish it with just one statement. It's a little bit clunky, but we'll see how it works. So we're going to send the result of our equation directly back as the return value. And so we would say freq table, and this will be the 2's. So if the 2 is equal to 1, yeah, I'm trying to avoid lots of parentheses, so let's just do it like this. And then we say and frequency table sub 3 is equal to 1. And that's the logical and. Frequency table sub 4 is equal to 1. So we're just putting in code what I said a second ago in English, and frequency table sub 5 is equal to 1. If all those things are true, then we know it's a large straight. Because, you know, if we have a 1 in all these for the 2s, the 3s, the 4s, and the 5s, well, the only other two options are you have a 1 in the 1 slot or a 1 in the 6 slot. Either one is a large straight, so we don't really need to check them because we already know the answer. The only way this would work is if there's a 1 in the 1 slot or the 6 slot, so we don't have to ask that question. Alright, so it looks like large straight is done, at least on the game model side. Now let's go over to the frame and see what we have to do to get this scored properly. Alright, so we're going back to the frame, and we're looking for the spot where we click on the large straight button. And so I'm going to the design, and I'll just double click on the button. So here I just double click and it takes me here. So again, let's use our full house model, I guess. Yeah, here. This is the general pattern that we're doing inside of these. And we can just modify that. Make it work for large straight. Let's try that. Okay, so we assume that it's not a large straight right here. And then we need to flag that the lower score category was used. So we'll say a large straight. That's our constant that we use to go keep track of that. We go into the scoring state, so that takes care of the UI buttons and all of that. And we're going to now replace this with is large straight. And then the scoring for a large straight is 40 points. And again, we just change that to large straight. Okay. And then we also want to set the score on the UI. So again, we use the constant. We show our totals, and then we check the game number, or the current turn number. And if we're at the end of the game, then we call it good. So I think that's all we need. So let's try it and see if we get a large straight. And see if that's scoring correctly. Okay, so we roll. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. There's a small straight. We're kind of rolling for a 5 now. No luck. So I'll keep doing this until we get one. Alright, so here I have a large straight, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we give that a try. Well, that's small straight. Large straight. And we get 40 points. Now, we should also test when it's not a large straight. So I'm going to reset the game. And this is obviously not a large straight. It's a small straight, but it's not a large straight. So if I click on it, I should get 0. And I do. So just by testing that a little bit, really haven't fully tested it, but we can see that the large straight is actually working.